Wow, you have so many dings.
Sorry.
It's okay.
I don't know how to shut my, how do I turn off this without turning off my sound?
Right, you have a Mac. You can't just go on, Do Not Disturb.
I'm sure you can, but I, as you know, have had a Mac for approximately 5 seconds. So, wait, here we go. Yeah, great. Okay, and we're live.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. I'm Abby.
And I'm Ronnie.
This is Dragons in the Details, where we pick apart our favorite fantasy series over the course of an undetermined number of episodes. I believe this is episode 12, I think. I don't know. I actually really don't know what episode we're on.
I think it's 12, but I think we should stop saying the episode numbers because I'm pretty sure we said episode numbers and then we switched an order of episodes. So this is the 12th episode we're recording.
Yes, and we're going to put a heavy asterisk that we can switch around the order and do whatever the fuck we want. Anyway, all right. Welcome to Dragons in the Details. I already said that. This is a deep dive fantasy book podcast where we pick apart our favorite fantasy series. This season, we are focused on the Empyrean series by Rebecca Yarros. If you have not read all of the Empyrean series, that is Fourth Wing, Iron Flame, and Onyx Storm, stop. Go no farther. We are
Do not pass go. Do not collect books. 200.
This is a very spoiler-full podcast. Pause, save the podcast, go read all the books. If you're like us, it will take you about a week. Come back, listen to the podcast. It will still be here. No pressure on reading books. However, whatever timeline you're on, that works for you. The podcast will be here. The books will be here. We welcome you with open arms at any point that you may arrive. Second disclaimer, these are spicy books. This might be a spicy podcast. This podcast is not for children. Please do not listen to this podcast with your children. Each week, we will dive into a specific topic in depth. We've been following that structure. Yay, go us. This week is mailbag number 2, which we're very excited about. We did our first mailbag. We got a lot of positive feedback about it. So we're doing another one. I could see us doing another one on Onyx Storm before it's all over, kind of a beginning, middle, and end. So this one is entirely theories from you guys. It's comments you've left, emails you've sent, DMs you've sent on both our TikTok, Instagram. I don't know, YouTube, maybe? I don't know. But there have been some good comments left on the YouTubes as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. So basically this one is powered by you guys. We're very excited.
We're excited.
Only other thing, we come with receipts. So we always have quotes to back up our theories so you can follow along if you're skeptical. Unless we come up with theories on the fly and then we don't have quotes. But we'll try to find them. If we make a social media clip about it or something, we try to find the quote to put in there. Ronnie, anything else before we dive into our mailbag episode?
No, let's do it.
Cool.
I'm excited.
All right. Do you want to start? You want to do the first one?
Yes, I will start. The first one is just a little baby fun one from our friend Cheyenne Taylor on TikTok. Commented, and it actually wasn't a comment on the video where we talked about this particular topic. It was on a separate one. And so I wanted to shout out and be like, you're in my head, first of all. Yeah. What? You
said our friend Cheyenne Taylor, but I just want to be clear. I don't know this person in real life. She's not really a friend.
No, she's a commenter. She comments on a lot of our TikToks. No.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Cheyenne. I am over personifying you. We do not know you personally, but you have commented on several of our.
We're sure you're lovely, and we'd love to get to know you.
Yes. Yeah, we don't actually know you. So this was a comment on a post about dragons. She mentioned, I think Cath might be an elder. This was not on a post that mentioned, I think we talked about in a previous podcast episode, that we think Cath might be really old. So for context, everyone, Cath is Dane's dragon. Cath is a red dragon. I don't know what his tail is off the top of my head. But
Cath is a man?
Cath is a man.
Okay. I believe it. I just always thought of Cath as short for Cathy.
Hold on. Let's fact check ourselves here.
I think Cath might be a man.
Violet says his teeth need to be checked.
Okay, Cath is a man.
Cath is a male. He's not a man. He's a male dragon.
Sorry, he's a male dragon.
He is a male dragon. We know very little about Cath except for one, that Dane gets a significant amount of power from Cath, that Dane has a lot of power per Sloane. Sloane touches him and says, someone like you should not have this much power. And we know that Cath's breath smells really bad, which we're taking a quantum leap and assuming that means that he's old, because why else would your breath smell terrible unless for some other reason, which would be actually super interesting? You're rotting from the inside out. And this commenter said, I think Cath is an elder. I think now that we have the Eretan riot, I don't see why that's not possible.
I think there's a lot to talk about here, actually, right? Okay, so if Cath was an elder at Basgiath and part of the Empyrean at Basgiath, what side was Cath on. My cat was definitely female. All right. This is so interesting.
He's a
In
red
fact,
swordtail.
Dane's whole journey with his dragon is interesting, right? Because
and like how has the dragon been changing his mind throughout this?
Right. If Cath is an elder, then Cath knew about the Venin the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Was he keeping the Venin? Well, I mean, all of the dragons know about the Venin, really, right? Like, so at what point did Cath... And that's what convinces Violet, right? It's Tairn really convincing Violet that the Venin are real. Why did it take Dane seeing Violet's memories to be convinced that the Venin are real rather than Cath telling Dane, no, the Venin are real?
Well, I would argue, I mean, Violet had the opportunity to literally see and hear about it from somebody else before confirming with Tairn. So I think it's, what's more interesting to me is like Dane being who he was and transforming to who he is, like what side was his dragon on the whole time?
Yeah, exactly. So, right. Yeah. And if Cath was an elder, was he working with? It's just not going to work.
Was he? I don't know.
Was
the commenter
working,
also,
yeah. Which side was Cath on? Yeah, because clearly now, if Cath is an elder, then Cath is in the Orician Empyrean.
Right.
Yeah.
The commenter also mentioned, and I wasn't able to find this myself, but I believe you, and I'm sure if I reread the books, I would find it, that Tairn looks to Cath in certain moments across the series. Like, Tairn is always positioning himself in front of Cath, but like often refers to him in like troubled times, or will like in battle like refer, like look over to Cath for some reason, which I think is very much explainable by the fact that Dane becomes a wing leader. So like that, like when you become a wing leader, I assume you're also attempting to dole out orders. I say attempting because like, does Tairn take orders? Probably not.
Right.
But it's mentioned that Tairn looks to him. And so if that's true, then maybe that's another case for him being an elder.
Yeah, I haven't caught that, but I do think that's interesting. And I definitely think, kind of regardless of whether or not Cath is an elder, if Tairn is deferring to Cath, Tairn defers to no one, right? So if he is, like, what is it about Cath? What is it about Cath that makes Dane so powerful? What is it about Cath that makes his breath smell? What is it that makes Tairn defer to him? I don't know. I think that's... Now I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
Now I'm intrigued for sure. Yeah.
So thank you, Cheyenne.
Thank you, our friend Cheyenne. We appreciate you.
Okay. What's your first one?
So my first one was on our clip about Ridoc being betrayed or being the betrayer. And this is a theory I've seen a lot. And I mentioned to you previously, I think this episode is going to be a lot for me about debunking common theories because there are a lot of theories out there and I don't necessarily agree with them.
Yeah.
So this theory is Ridoc secretly a Venin or a Venin spy theory. And the comment, and I don't want to necessarily call this person out. I'm not saying they're totally wrong. This is just the comment that I chose to kind of personify this. They gave a good example of some of the reasons why people think Ridoc is a Venin. I'm worried about Khaleesi's dragon wrote, I'm worried about Ridoc betraying them too. I'm not going to lie. Ridoc didn't bleed when he was almost killed. Who else don't bleed? Venin. And what did Xaden or Jack say that the higher Venin... Basically, she's saying what Xaden and Jack said is the higher up you are in the Venin chain, you'd never know that they were in the room. Yeah. Again, not calling you out Khaleesi's dragon. This is a common theory. A lot of people think this. However, I have a couple arguments of rebuttal. So the first one... I'll start with why people think this. So the first one is Ridoc seemingly draining a wyvern in battle. So the quote is, the wyvern shrieks and a paler shade of gray spread along its scales, emanating from Ridoc's hand. The beast tenses, then ceases to beat its wings and falls directly towards us. So this is in the battle at... Actually, I don't remember. It's Arisha. It's the last battle in Onyx Storm. And Ridoc touches a Venin and it seems to get gray. He's turning the wyvern into ice, guys.
Right.
Like,
yeah. Freezing
he's not draining them. Like, he's freezing them.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what we saw him do with the orange.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's an argument in this theory's favor. The second one that a lot of people reference is when he gets stabbed with a knife and doesn't bleed in Hedotus.
Which I do think that occurrence is fishy, but I agree with where you're going.
Okay. Right? People were like, he got stabbed and he's not bleeding.
Yeah.
Okay. And we're told it goes through his jacket. Okay, he doesn't bleed there because the knife goes through his jacket. He absolutely fucking bleeds when he gets shot by 2 arrows climbing up the cliffs of Dralor.
And almost dies.
Almost dead.
Brennan has to literally bring him back from the brink.
Right. So for this theory to work, Ridoc needs to have, one, channeled, risen to the ranks of Initiate and ASIM, gotten to Sage and Maven, without anyone noticing the physical characteristics that come with becoming a Venin, right? Needs to have risen up the ranks that high, and then gotten so powerful that he has become a Maven and can just blend in with everyone else in the course of about 4 months, as far as I can tell. It's not possible. I don't think it's possible within this world.
Extremely unlikely.
Yeah. And like, so, okay, let's say maybe he was I don't know why anyone would think Ridoc is a Venin, right? But let's say he channeled before he even got to Basgiath and was like an Initiate or an ASIM when he got to Basgiath. He wouldn't have bonded with a dragon. Like, no dragon would have bonded with him knowing that he was a Venin, right?
Yeah. Right. Especially not like a young, impressionable dragon.
Right. So I just think there's basically no merit to this theory.
Yeah. I don't like it.
The last point,
it's also
people
fine
are like,
when we're on the Isles, and if he were a high-ranking Venin, he would struggle with the loss of power.
And he's so mad that Xaden's a Venin, right?
Yeah. Like, extremely betrayed and, like, visibly surprised, which he would not be if he were also a Venin.
Right. So the last 2 points here, he's very insistent on going on Quest Squad. Let's talk about a theory I do like. I do like the theory that he does that because he promised Liam that he would protect Violet. Yeah. Right. I like that. I think that's sweet. I think that works. I like that. And then the last one is that he seems to be getting very, very powerful, way more powerful than any of the ice wielders. We talked about in our Signets episode that Violet seems to just be making everyone around her more powerful. I think that's what's happening here. I don't think it's, if Ridoc is a Venin,
blaming that theory for
I will
his power?
fucking rebel. Yes, I am.
Okay.
I think that theory holds water. I think it makes sense.
I mean, I brought it up. Yeah, I think it holds enough water to bring up on the podcast.
I don't think Ridoc is a Venin. I do think it's interesting that he hates sewing. This has been brought up multiple times. I have no idea where we're possibly going with this, but it has been brought up at least twice that Ridoc hates sewing. Let's find out where that goes.
Yeah. I think there is a lot of interesting things to be said about Ridoc and how he seems to keep cheating death. Like, that is interesting to me. Like, he doesn't really cheat death in the kitchen, right? Because he was never really stabbed in the first place, seemingly. But like, he definitely got lucky that Brennan was able to save him when he had 2 arrows in his chest. And he got lucky when the chef missed stabbing him. Like, I think there's interesting things to say about Ridoc. I don't think he's Venin.
I think Ridoc and his connection to luck, absolutely.
Love it. Obsessed.
Absolutely interesting. And, bad things happen in threes. So, like, yes, Ridoc has kind of cheated death twice now. Will he make it out the next time? I don't know. I hope so. But, like, is that what Rebecca's leading us towards rather than Ridoc secretly a Venin? I'd be sad if Ridoc died, but I think it's way more likely that he dies than that he's been secretly a Venin this whole time.
Agree.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. The next one we have to talk about is from crochet_ray1.
Okay.
First of all, I need to subscribe to whatever you're posting if it's related to crocheting because I'm fascinated by that topic. Second, this was on one of our clips about dragons being killed with daggers. And we have that one example, right, of at the end of Onyx Storm, Berwyn stabs Panchek's dragon with a dagger and that dragon shrivels and desiccates. And Xaden, in his POV, is like, holy shit, dragon just died via dagger. Like, excuse me, what the fuck is happening? And we were like, what's different about this dagger that it killed a goddamn dragon? Or is anything different about this dagger? And Crochet Ray commented, the Venin have been searching for * something from the start. And then they definitely stole daggers. I think this is what they've been after the whole time. And so I went back and digging because I had assumed 2 things. One, I had assumed that most of the shipments being stolen that we learned about in Fourth Wing and Iron Flame were actually flyers.
Yeah.
That were stealing shipments because they needed to defend themselves from the Venin. And so I thought that was just what that was. And 2, I thought that if Venin had been stealing daggers, that it was more out of defense for no one else to have them so that nobody could kill the Venin. But I forgot about the Battle of Suniva, which was what resulted in the death of Queen Mariah. This was when Suniva got sacked. Mariah's dead.
Yeah.
And they're in battle brief, and Devera is prompting them, like, I know this is really hard. I know you all had family here, but, like, you have to figure out what motivated them and why this happened, or we're never going to be able to figure it out the next time. And Xaden jumps in, and it's like, what was in the armory? It was 6 crates of freshly delivered alloy hilted daggers, and yes, the Venin took them all. And they said, why didn't Peromish forces use the damn daggers? And Devera says because the damn daggers had only arrived a few hours earlier, and the armory was their first target hit. Our best guess is that there was simply no time to distribute them. So few things. 1, 6 crates is an enormous amount. Like, the outposts have, like, 2 at a time.
Right.
So this was a distribution move. And the Venin, we know, have precog capabilities. Like, they know when things are going to happen. Like, they know when Violet's going to be...
I assume this is a man on the inside situation.
Oh, really?
Absolutely. I think this is Atos or Panchak.
Panchak, yeah.
Either
way, I think this points to, which I didn't really think about. I mean, there's no reason not to think it now that I am processing this. Like, I think it's the same daggers.
Yeah, I think it's the same daggers.
Or the Venin are adding runes to them that make them particularly effective against dragons. But I'm now very worried that they have 6 crates of these daggers, and we've only seen 1 dragon die at the hand of a dagger.
Absolutely. We should be worried.
We should be worried.
We should be very worried. Have you also, I haven't done much research into this, but I have seen a theory that Melgren is the one who killed Queen Mariah. Because I guess this would maybe be part of the Melgren is a Venin theory, which, as we know, I don't subscribe to. But Melgren is the one who sends all these, like, reinforcements to...
Yeah, they send, like, a few riders, right?
A few riders, right.
Yeah.
And she ends up dead. But I don't necessarily think there's much to go there, on there. But isn't it interesting that Melgren did not see this coming?
Yeah. And did the riders he sent have relics? Like, what?
I doubt it.
Yeah, I
don't
doubt it, too.
He
and we aren't told,
that.
And this kind of bothers me, like, I cannot possibly make a prediction based off of it, but we know that 1 rider gets out. 1 rider and 2 dragons make it out of that battle. And we don't know who it is. And I want to know. I mean, they can't have been particularly valuable if we sent them off to, like, certain demise.
I don't know. We sent them off to guard 6 crates of daggers? I don't know. That is... And to guard a queen?
A queen, yeah. Yeah, so we don't know who it is. Crochet Ray, thank you for the comment. It inspired me to figure out who was actually stealing the daggers, and it was definitely not all flyers. That Battle of Suniva is very obviously Venin targeting alloy hilted daggers. So we got things to worry about.
So now I'm wondering, we just recorded our history episode, our history part 1 episode, podcast magic revealed, guys. And we talked about in that episode how perhaps the start, or at least the Battle of Gianfar, we know took place in Orisha. And maybe Tirandor was what the Venin were really going for the whole time. Have the Venin known about the alloy killing dragons for centuries, perhaps?
Okay, so this I think is fascinating. The daggers were not used until right before the rebellion. Were not used to kill Venin. So this alloy, like, if the Venin knew about it, then they successfully kept it a secret until the Tirish Rebellion, which was fairly recent, because we know from Xaden was preparing a weapon and explaining to Violet that imbuing a dagger, like, basically as a rider pouring their own power into it, and Violet was like, have they always been placed in daggers? And he says, no, that started right before the rebellion. My guess is Melgren had a vision of how an upcoming battle is going to go, and these were central to his victory. Once Sigale chose me at Freshing, we started to work to smuggle out a few daggers at a time to supply what drifts we could make friendly contact with.
Right, so what is that upcoming battle? And if Melgren is a
Venin... my
Venin...
next episode, but yeah.
If Melgren is a Venin, which again, I don't think he is, but if he's a Venin, is it a battle where the Venin use the daggers and succeed?
Yeah. And what upcoming battle involves these that doesn't have rebellion relics everywhere?
Fuck.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah. So, TLDR, alloy hilted daggers are fairly recent. When we learned that they were recent, Xaden hypothesizes, which is, there's no way this doesn't mean something, that Melgren had a vision of how an upcoming battle was going to go, and these daggers were central to his victory. And then Xaden bonds Sigale, and they start doling out alloy like candy.
All right. Alloy hilted daggers going to kill some dragons in the next book.
Also going to be pivotal to a battle that Melgren can see the outcome of, aka not involving rebellion relics. Damn.
But it's still, no, I guess it's fine. I was going to say, like, why didn't Jack use, because Jack uses a sword to kill Bade, right? Why didn't Jack use a dagger? Maybe he just didn't have one.
He didn't have any? I don't know.
Maybe it's not as hard to kill a dragon as we think, but yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Okay, next.
The next theory I want to talk about is Tairn secretly the first black dragon? that bonded with a rider. We've posited Mira. So this was the clip about Sigale and Tairn's age and how they're lying and how they're probably much older than they say they are. Hollow wrote, I have a theory that Tairn's lineage is actually all of the names he's gone by in his life, not his ancestors, which would make him Thereux. I've heard this theory before. People say this. Rebecca has said that the dragons are lying about their names. So is it possible that everyone he's directly descended from Thereux? Is it possible that the names he tells to Violet when they're flying to the Isles are actually just all of the names he's gone by since he was Thereux? My issue with this is Codagh, right? So Codagh exists. Codagh is older. Codagh is also descended from Thereux.
Yeah.
Like Tairn calls him the oldest of his den. I also was like, are they doing something tricky where Tairn and Codagh could be the same dragon? No, Tairn and Codagh exist at the same place at the same time.
In the same place at the same time. And Violet talks to Codagh, and it's not Tairn.
Right. So, like, I don't think it could be that Tairn is Thereux. I think it could be that Codagh is Thereux, though. The reason I think that, we know that Tairn is used to fire the Orician Wardstone, but Codagh is used to refire the Basgiath Wardstone. Warwick's journal is very clear that one dragon cannot be used to fire both wardstones, but it doesn't say that one dragon can't be used twice to fire the same wardstone.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily think that... I don't see how it could be Tairn. I definitely think Tairn is older than he says he is. I think Tairn has seen a lot more than he's telling Violet. I think Tairn is a little bit sketchy and not telling us everything, but I don't think he's Thereux, but I think Codagh could be Thereux.
Interesting.
Yeah. Is it
interesting?
The other thing is, the other reason I think Codagh might be Thereux is that he knows that Andarna is an irid, right? Yeah. None of the other dragons recognize her as an irid or know that she's an irid, right? So it's clearly not something that's like passed down. Does he know that Andarna is an irid because he's seen them?
Maybe, but it's said that the elders know. The elders know that she's in her own den, so he knows that she's a seventh breed. They all do. Otherwise, they would be like, why
never mind.
Juvenile bonding?
I thought Codagh knew, but no one else knew. But yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Codagh is also the only confirmed elder that we know exists.
Yeah.
It's like, who the heck are the other elders? That still bothers me.
Do they exist, or is it all just Codagh? No.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think that.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Again, it could definitely just be him being sketchy, is that he describes his entire history up to Thereux.
Right. And then the story's no longer interesting once humans get involved. So we're also assuming that every dragon breed was represented in the first 6, right? We're assuming there's one black dragon, one blue dragon, one red dragon. I don't think that's actually said.
It's definitely not confirmed.
Right.
No.
So there could have been 2 black dragons.
With the exception of, I think, the account of, I forget where it's said, and I can find it if we need to, where the 6 approach the dens. So, like, if the 6 are approaching the dens, then they're approaching 6 dens, probably. And
maybe. Or they're just more than one den. I don't know. But we definitely know that all 6 dragons combined their hatching ground into one, which would make me think that. Yeah.
It's also like all the dragons that were there except for the irids. So
I do think Codagh, in the same way that we talked about Cath, though, is such an enigma, right? Like he clearly knows about the irids, which means he clearly knows about the Venin. So why isn't he going to try to fight the Venin, right? Why is he going along with the lie? He's so strong, he's so powerful. Maybe Melgren is controlling him. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Melgren is a Venin, except that Codagh fires the wardstone, so I don't really think that's true.
Yeah, but we have no evidence of any animosity between Tairn and Codagh, except for the time when, I think it's Ridoc, was like, can Tairn take Codagh? And Tairn is quiet. Silent.
So could Tairn take Codagh? Has Tairn already taken Codagh? Or is there something else weird going on here?
I mean, I definitely think the silence implies that he could. Whether he has, I don't know. Like, if I were Tairn, I wouldn't go around saying, of course I could, about my elder.
Well, someone also commented, like, what if they're brothers? Which I think makes sense, but I don't think that holds as much sway with dragons. I
also think they're just kind of all brothers. Like, if you're in it then... You're, like, all interbred.
Yeah, right. Like, we've talked about how your parents don't seem to determine the color of your scales.
Yeah. They're also, I think, the only 2 black dragons alive except for those 2 hatchlings.
Except for the 2 hatchlings, yeah.
Yeah. Which is, like, begs the question, like, are they just about to go extinct? Like, hopefully one of those hatchlings is...
Well, it doesn't matter. That's what we're saying. Any hatchling could be
We talked about this. Yeah, Okay.
Which just kind of seems very weird to me. It just doesn't really make much sense.
Yeah.
I guess you're born in a den, and then your scales turn a certain color, and if they match the den you're in, great. If not, you have to go find your own way. Go to the other dens.
I mean, and I assume there like was certainty when the dens were all living amongst themselves, and now like who knows what happens. But I do think it's really interesting to think about the fact like that the black dragons probably took a real hit basically every battle, and like that might be why there's so few of them, is they are the battle dragons.
Right, if their Venin are specifically going for the Palladium at Orisha.
Yeah, the black dragon den probably got fucked up.
Right. No, I actually think that's a great point. Why are there so few black dragons? If they are if they are the most feared war machines, why are there not more of them?
They're war machines. I assume they're just like in the front lines of combat, but yeah.
I think Tairn and Codagh should get busy having a baby. I think
Yeah.
I think they need to do that.
Yeah. Go lay an egg.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. The next one was on actually a bonus post from TikTok about what were the wyvern before they were wyvern. So we, in a previous episode, had talked about a specific part of one of Violet's battles with Theophany. I won't rehash the barrier piece, but basically what happens is Theophany's about to drain the ground, trying to convince Violet to drain the ground. Violet climbs up on a wyvern over its scales and nestles herself in the meat of the wyvern.
I love the movements you're doing right now.
For those who are watching this, I am nestling. She nestles herself into the meat of the wyvern, and then Theophany's draining does not impact her. And so this led us to ask, if the meat of the wyvern was what was repurposed, what were the wyvern before they were wyvern? And we talked about those possibilities being gryphons, which I think your go-to is I think it has to be gryphons because they had encroached upon Paromial and probably had a lot of dead gryphons to repurpose. And I said maybe also dragons. B commented, it's just B, the letter B. Oh, hey B.
Okay. Hey B. I'm Abby.
She commented, they commented, I don't know who you are. They commented,
the letter B.
They commented, remember when the Flyers were joining the Orician riot? A wyvern took a dead griffin. Why? They don't appear to eat. Did they take it for Venin to create more wyverns? So I went back. I see the puzzle look on your face. I went back and reviewed this. Okay. This is when Luella falls and a griffin named Cibbe? C-I-B-B-E.
Sibyllaire.
No.
Cibbe.
C-I-B-B-E. Her griffin dies. The griffin is collapsing. His head is hanging over the edge of the cliff, and his cries grow softer. Marin is saying, it's okay, you earned an honorable death. Luella fell, and the griffin die when their flyers die. Another set of wing beats fills the air, and I face the mist, waiting for Tairn's disapproving scowl, but I don't feel him any closer than before. Tairn says, you did not ask me to fetch you. They have some internal battle, whatever. Then the mist parts like a scene from a nightmare, and gray gaping jaws fill my vision, opening wide to reveal dripping teeth that snap closed around Cibbe's neck, snatching the griffin from the ledge before falling back into the mist. My heart stops. What the fuck? Sloane whispers. Wyvern, I managed to whisper, my head swiveling towards Marin and Cath. They're the only people here who have seen them. Wyvern, right? So a wyvern came in and grabbed this dying griffin.
Yeah.
And took it away.
I think that's it. I have another thought, though, based on what we just talked about in the history episode.
Okay, I'm curious whether it's my other thought, but go first, yeah.
We talked about how there are many references to Venin stealing children in the Fables of the Baron.
Could it be any living being's meat that grows a wyvern?
I don't know, but could it be children? That'd be fucked up, man. That'd be really fucked up.
That'd be like closer to horror and macabre than anything I'm ready for. Ugh, okay. Well, there's that. If we're onto something here, and wyvern, in fact, are made of other living beings that died, like griffins, then two interesting things. One, I think there is a resurrector on the Venin side, or some type of like necromancer or like imbuing combination that allows wyvern to exist from resurrected materials. And then we got another comment on this same comment from Boba. I don't know what gender Boba is, but they said, I think it's both. Note how they have two different fire colors and one is more common than the other. I know, there's three. I already know. Whatever one is more common has to be a griffin and less is dragons. My response is I'm not sure this checks out because there are three colors of fire we've been introduced to so far. Blue, green, and red. However, I do think that it could be that the fire is related to what you were before.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Because
it's also
thought about, like, is it the color dragon that they were? Because that all would check out. But if we feel strongly that gryphons are being used to recreate wyvern, which I think we should based on that other quote, then maybe it's related to what you came from.
Yeah, because it's blue, green, and red, and the red burns the brightest, so maybe that was what the dragons were.
Yeah.
The necromancer idea really, really lends credence to the Brennan being a wyvern type thing theory.
Yeah.
Which I hate. Well, not necessarily though, right? Because like, okay, so the Venins all have runestones in them. Or sorry, the wyvern all have runestones in them and have been resurrected and are now these evil things. Brennan may also have a runestone in him and have been resurrected, but maybe it didn't. Maybe it's just that like Naolan knew how to do it, but like didn't make Brennan evil. I don't know. I have a hard time thinking Brennan's evil.
I don't necessarily think that Brennan is evil, but I have like a crazy idea. And before I say it out loud, I'm going to say I don't think this is actually true, right? But if we're talking necromancers and Brennan and like repurposing of flesh to become other things, we know based on our history episode prep that Violet thought that Brennan knew Old Lucerish. She hands Xaden the Warwick's journal and says,
oh my God.
And Brennan's gonna know how to translate this. Go take it to him. Then when she's with Brennan, Brennan says, I don't know Old Lucerish. I only know Tyrish.
And he couldn't remember the details of the fables of the Baron.
He couldn't, what if Brennan's just not Brennan?
He's not Brennan. What if he's Naolan?
Right. Or somebody from Tyrrendor who knows Tyrish. And that's why he only knows Tyrish. He doesn't know Old Lucerish. He doesn't know anything else. He can't remember like details of his childhood.
Fuck. I like that way more than he might be a Venin. This is actually really funny because I got a DM from a woman, I believe named Ella Smith. Let me look it up. And L Smith, maybe Ellie Smith. And she said, I would love to hear y'all's thoughts on like Brennan and his sketchy ass rune on his hand. I'm like, oh, we've actually kind of already talked about that, but we're talking about it. So
surprise,
full circle.
So Brennan knows.
Theory.
Yeah. Brennan does not remember Fables of the Baron. Violet thinks he knows Old Lucerish and then he doesn't. He knows Tyrish, and we're talking about beings being recreated as other beings. Is Brennan just not Brennan?
Is Brennan just not Brennan? Wow. I have to look for, I might actually, as soon as we stop recording, have to just go look for more evidence.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see what you find, because that is crackpot, but...
Here's the thing, though. Here's why I think it might be that he's Naolan, because he knows Basgiath. He knows how to get around Basgiath. He knows how to be a rider. But what about his dragon? Would his dragon not sense that something's different?
Yeah, I don't know. And also, like, if he's Naolan, then Tairn is his dragon.
Tairn!
Yeah, so would be absolutely the craziest plot twist to ever plot twist.
Say.
Which again, that's why I'm not sure, but I think it's fun to piece those together.
I think there's enough. Oh, fuck me. Okay. Well, nothing I have can possibly top what we just talked about here.
I think I have something that might. Well, but I didn't think of that one beforehand. So I think maybe we just loop back to this on, I already know that I'm going to want to do a no missions on it and go find other stuff. I'm sure you are too. So maybe we just park this as our next omission for our next episode. Because I'm sure there's stuff we missed. Okay.
Oh my God.
What's your next one?
All right. My next one is Lilith facing off with Theophany. So this is also a common theory. Mm-hmm. I have a couple comments on this one, so I'm not specifically calling out anyone in particular, but we got a lot of comments on... I'm sorry, I don't remember the clip. It might have been the Did Dune cure Theophany thing. There's a theory going around that Lilith faced off with Theophany when she was young and channeled. She realized she couldn't beat Theophany, and that's when she channeled. Mm-hmm. And that's when she became Venin, and then she fled to the wards, basically for the rest of her life, to avoid turning into the Venin. The reason for this theory is because Theophany has a line that says, your mother knew at your age that she was no match for me. That's why she hid behind those wards. Perhaps you should have followed your example. So I just want to break this down a little bit. We talked about in the last episode that you think Lilith found out about the Venin when she was like promoted to like general or colonel or something.
Yeah.
Not according to this quote, right? Because she says your mother knew at your age. Violet is a cadet. That means Lilith found out about Theophany when she was a cadet. right?
Yeah.
So Lilith has known about the Venin for way longer than we thought, right? Okay.
Interesting.
If Lilith did channel when she was facing off against Theophany, that means all 3 of the Sorengale children are Venin offspring, right? That means it's not just Violet. It means it's all of them. And it means Asher married her as a Venin, right? That doesn't mean he knew. But given that everything that Asher knows, he probably would have known. And I don't know that he would have been, super down with that.
Yeah.
Especially given...
I want a novella on them entirely because I'm so curious what kind of couple they are. But yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Especially given how alarmed they are at the idea that Violet might turn Venin, right? Like, I just don't think that adds up necessarily. There's 2 other theories on when Lilith might have channeled, right? So one is when she was pregnant with Violet, and that's why Violet has the gray hair. I don't think that makes sense. Violet has the gray hair because she was touched by Dune. The second one is the night when they are stationed at the outpost and she comes home with bloodshot eyes, right? So that would mean 3 potential times, but really 2 potential times that Lilith has channeled. We also know they're constantly moving around and live on outpost towns a lot. Like, I think it's unreasonable to think that Lilith would never have had to go out of the wards with her job. We know that Xaden has to go out of the wards all the time, right? Yeah. So I just don't really think this theory holds water because, like, Lilith was in and out of the wards all the time, unless she is super evil and she was actually a maven and just disguising it the whole time, which I don't really think that holds water either. So the last point here, and you've mentioned this, like, kind of the big red flag about Lilith not being Venin.
Yeah, the biggest case for it, honestly.
The biggest case against Lilith being Venin is the way that she dies, right? Because she runs out of power. And if she were Venin, she would just channel and she would imbue the wardstone, right?
And like, the wards were down. Like,
the wards were down. Exactly, right? Yeah. So, like, I don't think that Lilith channeled to beat Theophany, but I do think Lilith has known about Theophany and the Venin for way longer than we thought. I also have one follow-up quote on this, and this kind of actually does belong in an omission from a previous episode. I was going back through because I was looking at what the priestesses said about Violet and her paths. What Mira says is, the priestesses spoke all cryptically, but basically said if Violet chooses her future poorly, she could still earn their mentorship, but she'd turn. Right? So I thought that was crazy. The priestesses are saying, even if she turns Venin, we would still mentor her. Like, why would they say that? And who else have they offered that deal to? Yeah. So, I don't know. I still am of the mind that Lilith was not a Venin. It just doesn't make sense given the world that we've built here. I mean, I'm anti-Lilith being Venin. I think that's, like, Rebecca's admittedly well-placed red herring. I think it has driven a lot of interesting conversation, but I can't get past her death. It's not to say that Venin can't exist behind the wards, because, like, we think that Atos is a Venin. Yeah. And we think that Varish was a Venin.
And we're told in so many words by Jack that they could literally just be wandering around. So,
but I just don't think that Asher would marry or procreate with a Venin.
Can I bring up a mini comment, actually, that's related to this topic?
Yeah.
Because it's actually one that I went back and looked into, and I couldn't find a great explanation for. So I'm curious whether you have any thoughts. So, banana cake, I can't pronounce this handle because I can't tell what words are what, but it's spelled like banana cakeos. Hi. You left a comment saying, this got me, it was about Jack in his cell with the conduit, the piece of the alloy from the conduit that Violet offers him to basically stay alive. This got me thinking, though. Jack was in Besgaeth, parens, full of magic because of the veil, close parens. How come Jack had to drain from the alloy when magic is available everywhere? He was slumped on the floor when Violet visited him. Why can't he just touch the floor and the floor turns lava? Which is related to something that I had commented. Xaden had to drain the alloy in Deverelli because there was no magic anywhere else. So I went back and looked at, like, what is the cell that Jack is in? Like, why is he cut off from being able to stay alive? Because I don't remember him being in the Ribestad chest. All I could find is that Nolan dumped serum down his throat and then took him down there.
No, he has drained all of the magic from the cell. There's a line
so it's the wards that are around it. Because I also had that. Like, there were wards that Violet had to step through to talk to Jack in the first place. So did he just drain the magic within the wards?
I think he has just drained all of the magic in his surrounding area, everywhere he can touch, basically. Like they say, there is no color on the stones. Like I think there's a line that Violet has, like the stones are even paler gray than when she was in there, because it's the same cell she was tortured in.
So is that
like
power based then? Because like when Theophany puts her hand on the ground, the ripple is massive.
Probably. I don't know. Maybe it is the words. Yeah.
I think it could logically also be the fact that he's on serum. But if he's on serum, then how would he touch the alloy and color would come back into his face? I don't know. Okay. If you had an answer, I was going to use it. If not, we can.
I mean, my answer is he's used all of the magic available to him in the surrounding area.
And he can't expand the diameter of his draining to the extent that Theophany can.
Theophany can. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Fine.
That's my answer.
Okay. So unrelated to effective wards then.
You're doing the next one?
Okay. Is it my turn? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. So this is my favorite one. I don't know how you're going to feel about it. So I don't even remember what clip this was commented on, but user 5945549977026 commented, and I wish I knew your name because I love you for this comment. Genuinely. Like I went on such a journey with this comment in particular. They commented, also, have you explored Bodhi's name choice? Parens nirvana/completion of reincarnation, and that his dragon's name is to sow or plant something in the earth. So
no,
I went on
it's the short answer.
Yeah, right. No, I said, oh my gosh, we'll be digging into this. We'll follow up. So this is me following up. Bodhi's name means awakening or enlightenment. In Buddhism, it means it's synonymous with nirvana, basically. We have talked about this concept of magic being unnatural, synonymous with original sin. Humans who touch magic directly lose their souls. Dragons who touch magic live for an unnatural amount of time, and they're said to be demonized in Fables of the Baron. The irids clearly think it's an abomination for humans to have access to magic at all, since they don't bond, and they called Xaden an abomination for being Venin. Bodhi's signet is countering other people's signets. He literally turns off their power. And his dragon's name, which is Kur? I'm trying.
UIR.
Is to put or to place. And so is this Rebecca's way of hinting to us that humans should be seeking a nirvana in which they don't wield magic at all? That magic belongs back to the earth? And can Bodhi play a role in turning off this power?
What did the user 454609 say Bodhi cure meant? Something about planting, right?
So they said his dragon's name is to sow or to plant something into the earth. I couldn't find that. I found that in Gaelic it means to put or to place. Maybe it's to sow. I just couldn't.
I mean, if it's to sow, that's really interesting, right? Because we talked about at our Cygnus episode the idea of Imogen putting magic back into the earth, and this idea of like Brennan trying to heal the spot where, sorry, now my brain is just going down a Brennan rabbit hole. We'll get back to that later. Brennan trying to heal the spot where, okay, sorry, I can't turn my brain off. I'm like, oh my God, if he has Naolan and Brennan's power, trying to heal the spot where Xaden channeled, and Bodhi is the counter, right? Bodhi is always the balance. So is Bodhi going to somehow have that power instead of Imogen?
Yeah, I don't know.
And if he's a Venin now,
actually, I don't know what a reliable source of
this is
translation
the problem.
is, but I did find a source that says to sow seed, sow plant. So I don't know. I think Bodhi could be a I mean, we've discussed that Bodhi could definitely be like a sleeper, super important character in all of this.
Yeah, but he's definitely not married to Violet.
He's definitely not married to Violet, but I love that his name means nirvana and his power is disabling other people's power. I think that's so great.
I need to think on that one more. I didn't have a chance to think on that, so I want to think about it more.
Thank you, user 5945549977026 for your comment.
We appreciate you.
Okay, over to you.
All right, for my last one, it's our girl again, Lovebug2110.
Lovebug.
Let me make sure that's actually her. I might have skipped a one or something. Hold on. Lovebug2110. I don't know why you don't have your own podcast. You literally have the best theories ever. Way better than ours. For those of you who don't remember, Lovebug's theory on our last mailbag was that Berwyn is going to break the bond between Xaden. Andarn is going to break the bond between Xaden and Berwyn, which we absolutely love as a theory. I'm just going to paraphrase her theory this time because it's super long. But basically, it comes down to why the Venin want Violet. And the answer that and I don't even remember what video this was on, I apologize. The answer is that because the Venin, as we just talked about with Jack, right? The Venin have a limited supply of power, but Violet does not. If Violet is wielding from the sky, she has an infinite supply of power, right? So the Venin know that they're going to run out of power eventually. The irids talk about this. They'll suck the land dry, and then maybe their offspring will evolve, right? The Venin know that that's coming for them. And even when they go to Brennan says that the Basgiath, the veil, basically the energy at the veil could power them. I think he says for decades, which is really not that long since we're talking about centuries, if not millennia, right? So like clock's ticking, but Violet wielding from the sky will never run out of power. And she has the power to imbue, right? So this also gets back to the alloy daggers, right? Like she can imbue alloy. Basically, the Venin can just hook her up to conduits and just use her power forever.
This is an amazing theory, but we also hit this.
Did we?
In a previous, yes. We
God
did
damn it. We've done so much. All right. Well, we're doubling down on it then.
We're doubling down. No, I love it. Like, I do love it. We did hit it though. Yeah.
All right, well, shit. Yeah, that's our theory. Case closed.
No, I mean, to be fair to Lovebug on this, I think we were talking about how the Venin plan to survive with a seemingly finite source of power. Like, what is their plan? Like, if they're growing, if they're recruiting, like, what is their plan for having enough power to support them all? And I think we, like, threw out the possibilities of Andarna and Violet, which I think, like, Lovebug's theory is more well-formed, because I think we came up with it on the spot. But yes, 100%. Agree with you.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Great. We have great theories. I didn't remember that.
But we love Lovebug's theories too.
Thank
and
you,
maybe we just didn't clip it.
Yeah, probably
which is
not.
Possible.
Please keep commenting, Lovebug, because your theories are
They're so good.
They're so good.
They're so good. Okay. So I have two more, and one is like super baby. Like, just I liked the comment, so I wanted to shout it out. But the first was on our video about Asher dying from the consequences of using time travel, which is admittedly very much a theory, right? Like, we have no leg to stand on here. This is a hypothesis. Lizzie commented, "That's really interesting. That could explain why they haven't seen, quote, fire breathers for centuries. Maybe that doesn't include irids and Darna aside. Maybe they don't breathe fire," is what they were implying. I really like this because not only might it not include irids because of their like pacifist, not breathing fire mentality, but also because they can literally go unseen. Like, have the irids been around the Isles this whole time?
So I had this thought because as I said, I was rereading the passage where where Mira is revealing Violet's like potential path to becoming a Venin. And they talk about, she says, Mira's like, oh, you were dedicated to the temple. Like, mom must have done it because dad loved you so much. And Violet says, no, dad took me. A, because it's in Lilith's journal, and B, because the people of the Isles haven't seen dragons for centuries. Mm-hmm. And in my mind, I go, oh, well, there goes our Asher writing a dragon theory. And then the other voice in my head says, no, it doesn't, because the irids can be fucking invisible.
Yeah, like, literally. And it kind of shocks me. I think we have a moment where Andarna even gets mad because either the priestess or the queen on Umbriel is like, this, you're wasting your time. This island hasn't seen fire breathers for centuries. And Andarna is like upset. And I'm like, Andarna, your entire breed can camouflage with anything. Like, they could have been here. Totally could have been here.
We are not focusing enough on the fact that the irids are invisible.
Are they on the continent? Like, we talked about that too. Yeah. Like, they could be anywhere. This also made me think about something, admittedly, like, this is probably a long shot, right? But one thing I keep coming back to that just doesn't make sense to me. Tairn and Codagh are bonded, right? Mated, and bonded. They have been around each other. Like, they can't be apart for more than what is their limit? 7 days? Well, their like pain limit is 7 days, and then like who knows how long they could actually be apart. And so Codagh bonded Xaden 2 years before Violet arrives at Basgiath. It has been said in exact terms that Tairn went unseen for 5 years. How was he not seen? Like, how is he unseen? Codagh has been around. Tairn is clearly there. I mean, I get that, like, if you're a dragon, maybe you can just, like, go away and no human see you ever, but
yeah, there's a lot of dragons that are unseen in the Vale, right? Like, no one ever sees, like, the hatchlings, no one sees the... Feathertails, right. So I am sure that everyone assumed that Tairn was just hanging out in the Vale. I am also sure that that is not what was happening.
Yeah, that's not how he was spending his time. There's no way.
If he just found out about the Venin, He's not going to the Vale for 5 years to lick his wounds, you know?
I don't have an answer. I'm just, when we were talking about things not being seen, because that would also mean like that if the Queen on Umbriel is actually correct and they haven't seen fire breathers for centuries, I'm like, what is Tairn doing that he can just go undetected for so long?
There's also a moment when they're attacking the wyvern at night, and Tairn basically...
Oh yeah, he says, I am the darkness or whatever.
Yeah, I'm Batman is what he says.
Yeah,
no.
Literally. That was just paraphrased, but yeah.
He basically says, and they basically sneak up on the wyvern, right? Because Tairn's black. And he says something like, I have not honored the colors of my scales that way. I want to find it because he puts a time period on it. And I don't know if it's like years or months or... Hold on.
Yeah, I've got it. Tairn levels out, and 2 wing beats later, I hear a thud between us. It's been ages since I've honored the color of my scale in such a manner, Tairn declares with a pitch of pride. And Darna says, you blended in with the night, hardly an accomplishment.
Yeah, okay, ages is not a firm timeline, but yeah, I mean, that's a good question. What was Tairn doing for those 5 years?
And why unseen? Just, yeah, doesn't feel right. Okay. Last baby one that was a comment on one of our Gods and Isles clips. This comment was from GDW22. And they said, are the Isles and the continent the gods themselves? The land is the source. The land are the gods. The lands are the gods.
I got a similar comment, I think.
It's from Instagram. It's the Instagram comment. I like this idea. I love this idea actually because the Isles are maybe a source of power, but I think what I'm stuck on is the Isles don't have land magic.
Right.
Right?
I don't understand this idea at all.
Okay, here's how I understand the idea. Maybe we'll start there. Are the Isles and the continent the gods themselves? So, are the gods the land? Is Amari the continent? Is the actual land itself, the life of it is the god, and therefore, Zahilna is Zanal. And so, with your theory, when you were saying the dragon eggs are being taken to the gods, is each of those Isles actually the god?
But Malik doesn't have a land.
Malik doesn't have a land, but he has a bay.
Yeah. I guess I just don't understand the point of it. Okay, what's the... are we saying they're literally physically the body of the gods?
They are the embodiment of the gods.
No, I want to talk about it because I feel like this is kind of what we got into in our Devera episode, which is when I was trying to wordsmith around what I believed.
Yeah, what do we think the gods are?
What does it mean that the Isles are dedicated to the gods? Does that mean that each god has a favored isle and it can change? Or this is where this god rules, it's a territory? I don't think it's the Isles are physically the bodies of the gods, though.
I think that's what this theory is the terraforms themselves are the gods, and the power, the magic within the land there is the magic of the gods, and it was taken somewhere by something, and so now the power of the gods is just out and about.
Okay.
But for the continent, I guess that the argument is that that's Amari, and that magic is still there. I don't know about that one. Okay. All right. That's all I got.
Did I respond to that comment? I think I did.
Oh yeah, you did. You said, "Oh, this is a really interesting idea." This is and then someone else commented, though there is a line when Vi says to Malik, "You can't take her," and the sky darkened in acknowledgement, which could hint at more elements being gods or being controlled by gods. And you said, I'm going to have to go back and see if there's other examples of this. Would it make sense that Malik's power is in the sky and the other god's power is ground-based since Malik doesn't seem to have a territory? And then does that mean the origin story where one brother commanded the sky and the other the ground, really a war between the gods?
Okay, well, I think that's interesting.
Obviously you think it's interesting because you said it.
Because I am a Leo.
But the other, that's still the same theory though, right? That the gods embody the land, and then Malik is just the in-between, which makes sense for death, right? Maybe it's also the oceans.
So our favorite friend podcast, Faithfully Fantasy, they talk about how they think the oceans have power, which I kind of totally buy because they talk
so
about
colorful.
They're so colorful, and there's a line about krakens and like other magical beasts that live in the ocean. We know Dane was obsessed with piracy in the 5th century. It was a real problem. I do feel like we're being set up for some ocean-based drama.
Yeah, I agree.
I just need to think about this one. So
all right, that was all I had on Mailbag. But keep leaving these comments because they're so fun to dig into.
We love them. The Mailbag episodes are fun, and they lead us down crazy theory rabbit holes.
I know, the prep isn't even that stressful because then we just get on the actual podcast and are like, holy shit.
Yeah. I think we should do one more of these for Onyx Storm if we keep getting... I think 3 Mailbags for Onyx Storm makes sense. Are you reading anything?
I finished Crescent City. So I guess, like, spoiler-free review, right? Because you are still actively reading this. I think this series is the most underrated Sarah J. Maas series. Like, everyone paints Crescent City to be the, like, later, like, kind of modern, like, kind of weird, I don't know, not the biggest fan. I love it. Love it.
Told you this. I was like, why? And if this is because of something that happens, don't tell me. I don't want to know. But I'm like, why is there not more like fan art about Hunt? Like, why have I never heard of Hunt? I've heard of everyone, right? I've heard about fucking like Chael. I don't even know how you pronounce his name. I've heard about, I think, Dorian. Like, I have not read these. Everyone in Powerless. I know all their names. I have not read these books, right?
Yeah.
Did not hear the name Hunt Athalar until I started reading these books. And I don't know why. I think he's great.
I definitely heard Umbra Mortis. Like, he's described as Umbra Mortis in a lot of fan art. I mean, like, I'm not going to spoil anything for you, but, like, I just think he's chronically underrated. Like, he is extremely underrated, in my opinion.
Yeah, and again, I think this series tackles much bigger questions than ACOTAR tackles. Like, ACOTAR, it's pretty, like, black and white, good and evil. This is what you should do. Like, there's really no question about what the right thing to do is. And I think this series examines that. It really is just like a much more grown-up series, which I like. I'm getting extremely frustrated with the fact that they haven't fucked yet, but like, that's on me.
I actually, so another spoiler-free review item, like, I got to the point where like every time something started, I was just fully expecting it to get interrupted. I was like someone's gonna fucking walk in, so I'm not gonna get too invested in where this is going.
It's like almost a joke. It's like truly
definitely a joke. Yeah.
And I do want to not be spoilery, but like, book 1 is about to end, and I'm like, okay, it's okay. This was a really great book. I don't need it. And then she like almost does, like, she teases us. And I'm like,
yeah, maybe just Crescent City spoilers real quick. Light spoilers, no critical plot spoilers. Yeah.
I'm like, just decide. Don't do this. Don't do this where you're like leading us on.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I thought it was super underrated as a series. I think Hunt is super underrated as male main character. Like, I think I struggled to relate to our female protagonist early on, but I've grown to really like her as well. And I'm just confused because, like, this series has been out for some time. And if you haven't read Sarah J. Maas, she has 3 really well-known series. Throne of Glass, which she's basically confirmed has been concluded. ACOTAR, which is not concluded, but like the main plot line is, but she's still writing books. And the more I think about it, the more I don't know if the main plot line is concluded. And then Crescent City, which is also not concluded, but the main plot line is. And so I'm like sitting here after reading
the
Crescent
main
City.
Plot line of Crescent City is concluded?
The books end in reasonable resolution, the first 3.
Okay.
Like, think of it like ACOTAR, right?
I
like,
just assumed there was going to be 4 because there's 4 houses.
I think that's a fair assumption. We've not been told how many books there are going to be. She's still writing them, but her next one that she's going to release is ACOTAR. Anyway, so I finished this book and I'm like, this might have been, I mean, I have a lot of recency bias, but this one might have had my favorite plot. Like, it's so layered. There's almost too many plot twists. Like, I'm kind of like, could we do like one less plot twist? But I really liked it.
So ACOTAR, I feel like the romance was really front and center. Like, at the end of the day, this is a story about people.
It was a romance novel with a fantasy.
It was
plot.
a romance novel with fantasy. Yeah. This is not. This is a political thriller. It starts as a mystery. Yeah. It seems to be turning into a political thriller, revolutionary war tale with romance woven throughout. And I really like it. I'm not done with it, so I don't want to like give any notes or anything or any feedback. Yeah. Really, but I'm enjoying it a lot.
She continues to be really great at making you invested in characters that aren't just the main ones. I love that about her writing. I feel that way about ACOTAR, and she basically caught on that was the case and started writing about the other characters, and I'm like, I would take a book about every single person in this fucking series. Like, I would. And same with Crescent City. Now that gets more over the longer you read, but I don't have to just like flip through other chapters to be like, what's happening with Bryson? What's happening with
Okay, I kind of feel that. I totally get why you're saying that with ACOTAR, but I only feel that way because Farah and Rhys kind of like get to the end, right? Like, not really. Like, and we've talked about this, and we'll talk about this more. There are still scenes that I want to see from Farah and Rhys's perspective, but like, if she had thrown in the Cassian and Nesta stuff in book 2 or book 3, I would have been like, stop, I don't fucking care. Like, you know?
Yeah. Fair.
And I do feel like she's kind of doing that. Like, sometimes we go to scenes with like Rune, and I'm like, no, get me back to Bryce and Hunt. That's all I care about.
Yeah. I do the Therian scenes. I'm just like, oh, like, get this fucker out.
Oh my God, I know. I'm like, I don't care about Therian, but I'm still interested in what he's doing. But it's just because they haven't fucking had sex yet that I'm like,
yeah,
this just needs to happen.
Anyways, that's what I'm reading.
I have a song. Hold on. I have a song that I really like that I think you would like, and maybe our listeners will like too. Hold on. Everything's being so slow. All right. So this song is called, hold on, it's going to start playing. Anthems for a 17-year-old. Sorry, Anthems for a 17-year-old girl. And it was a song that came out, I want to say in the early 2000s, I believe, by the band Broken Bells. Hold on, I need to look it up.
Of a 17-year-old
Sorry,
girl.
by Broken Social Scene. So it was a song by Broken Social Scene in the early 2000s. Came out in 2002. I really like the Broken Social Scene version. Maggie Rogers and the girl from Sylvan Esso have done a cover of it, and they just released it, and I loved it, and I think you'll really like it. It's just very soulful and vibey, and it's really easy to sing along to.
Okay, cool.
So I think you'll like it.
I mean, Maggie Rogers can do no wrong.
Exactly.
So I'm going to see Avril Lavigne.
Oh my God. Yay!
I like saw that she was playing at Madison Square Garden, and I was like, am I gonna buy Avril Lavigne tickets right now? And it was like 11 p.m. and I was just like on my phone, and I was like, yeah, I'm buying Avril Lavigne tickets right now.
Nice. That's amazing.
So hopefully she plays the entire Let Go album, because that is the Avril Lavigne that I loyally listen to.
Good for her. Oh my God. I actually have to tell you something really funny. I don't know if anyone's going to care about this. You know who Chad Kroeger is, obviously, right?
No, who is that?
Okay, Chad Kroeger is the lead singer of Nickelback and Avril Lavigne's current husband, I believe.
Yep.
Do you know the Fishbowl game? It doesn't matter. Basically, we were playing a version of like Balderdash at a party where you like can't say the word of the person you're trying to describe. So the clue was Chad Kroeger, and our friend was like, the guy who founded the grocery store chain. And I was like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? And then the time was up, and she was like, Chad Kroeger, because of Kroger's, the grocery store chain. I'm like, Chad Kroeger is the lead singer of Nickelback.
It's not even spelled the same, is it?
Well, it's Kroger's. It's not Kroeger, but maybe it's Kroger's with an apostrophe.
No, I just Googled Chad Kroeger. It's spelled Kroeger.
Yeah, it's not even spelled the same.
It's not even spelled like Kroger's. But that would be amazing if Chad Kroeger randomly also ran a multi-million-dollar grocery chain.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Okay.
All right. Anyway.
That's enough of us.
Sorry for rambling. I'm sorry for all of it. No, follow us on social media. We are Dragons in the Details Pod on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. We are dragonsinthe.detailspod@gmail.com. Please continue to send us emails. We love it. We're finally getting some emails, which is great. And we always answer them, at least for now.
We do.
Yeah. And that's it. Anything else, Ron?
Nope. Thank you for listening.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Love you. Bye.